and welcome back to this special edition of MANCINIMA. Before we get started, if you could please give this video a like, the little button down below, if you can subscribe to the channel, and if you can also hit the notification bell, that would be absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much. What we're going to be taking a look at today is the films of 2022. Now obviously we can't cover every movie that came out in 2022, so I'm just going to cover the ones that I saw at the cinema and the ones that I think are relevant. So, without further ado, let's get started. Films are generally thin on the ground at the beginning of the year, especially in January and February. This is the period where the studios use to dump the films that they don't think are going to do very well. Except there was an exception to the rule in January 2022 when Paramount Pictures decided to release the movie Scream, or as we might know it, Scream 5. Scream, or Scream 5, starred a brand new cast, Jenna Ortega, Melissa Barrera, and among many others, alongside some of the legacy cast members. So you had Courtney Cox coming back, Neve Campbell coming back, and David Arquette coming back. And this was the first movie not to be helmed by the late, great Wes Craven. Instead, this one was helmed by a group of people called Radio Silence, who you may know of directing the ever-excellent Ready or Not film. Scream did so well at the box office that, in fact, it inspired another sequel, and in March 2023 we shall see Scream 6, the trailer of which is already out. Horror films were a mixed bag in 2022. You had gems such as Barbarian, Smile, Watcher and Candyland, but Halloween Ends was a huge disappointment, ending with more of a whimper than a bang, especially as its core villain was barely featured in the movie. But no doubt, give it a couple of years and Halloween will be rebooted yet again, and we can all forget about David Gordon Green's misjudged Halloween trilogy. Superhero fatigue began to set in too, with both Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness and Thor Love and Thunder failing to impress critics and fans alike. Faring similarly were Morbius and Black Adam. In fact, the only movies that seemed to come out of the superhero genre very well this year was Matt Reeves' The Batman, starring Robert Pattinson, going after a very villainous, very dark Riddler. And you also had the fantastic Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which of course had to deal with the tragic passing of Chadwick Boseman, but pulled the strings together to give us a very impressive, very touching superhero movie. And I look forward to seeing where the Black Panther saga goes from there. But let's pause for a moment. Let's take a look at what I've considered to be my top 5 worst movies of 2022. At 5, Firestarter, the remake of the 1984 Drew Barrymore starrer, but without any of that film's charm or suspense. At 4, Where the Crawdads Sing, a great cast, but a mediocre, slow, plodding film that didn't really know when to end, and when it finally did end, it was disappointing. At 3, Brian and Charles, a movie where literally all of the fun scenes were in the trailer. A film that should have been charming, charismatic, but instead was the first film that I wanted to walk out of through sheer boredom. At 2, Studio 666, a horror comedy starring the rock band The Foo Fighters. This started off well, it was quite funny, but it quickly ran out of ideas until it became a barely watchable mess at the very end. And my absolutely worst film of the year is a slasher horror movie called Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. The most unlikable, obnoxious characters in years in a dull film where you really wish they would all just hurry up and be killed off. I really had to stay awake and really had to push myself to stay through this film. So that's the worst film of the year for me, Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. So with such terrible movies like those stinking up my top 5, cinema needed a saviour. So step forward, Sam Neill, Laura Dern, Jeff Goldblum, Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt in Jurassic World Dominion. And you know how much I love my dinosaurs. This was a fantastic movie. A bit of a weak ending to a 6-movie saga, but enjoyable nonetheless. And of course it was the second movie to break the 1 billion mark at the box office. What was the first movie, I hear you ask? Well, that honour goes to an even older sequel. A sequel that came 36 years later actually. And it's called Top Gun Maverick, and it stars Tom Cruise once again as Pete Maverick Mitchell. Now, that movie is in cinemas again this Christmas, or over the Christmas period. I don't know if it will last into New Year, but clearly it hasn't made enough money, even though it's cost $1 billion. So there it is, back in cinemas once again. I look forward to the next sequel in another 36 years' time, when we got a 96-year-old Tom Cruise running around. Come on, Tom, you can do it. 2022 ended with James Cameron's 13 years later sequel to Avatar in Avatar: The Way of Water. Now, it's still early days, so we can't say whether this is going to beat Top Gun at the box office. However, if it doesn't, James still has Avatars 3, 4 and 5 lined up every other year to give it another go, so we'll see how that goes. However, for the moment, let's take a pause and take a look at my own personal top 10 of 2022. At 10, Ty West's X, the first part in his X trilogy, followed by Pearl and next year's Maxine, where a group of filmmakers out to make an adult film feel the wrath of a sinister elderly couple. At 9, Watcher. Michael Monroe plays a young actress who has noticed a mysterious stranger watching her from across the street as a serial killer stalks the city. At 8, Barbarian. At a rental home in a bad part of town, a young woman discovers that being double booked is the least of her problems in this twisty-turny thriller. At 7, Candyland. A naive, religious young woman finds a home amongst a group of friendly truck stop sex workers, but then the killing starts. At 6, The Menu. At an exclusive island restaurant, a young couple find that the celebrity chef owner's menu is not what it may seem. At 5, The Electric Life of Louis Wayne. A charming, lovely film. Benedict Cumberbatch plays Louis Wayne, an artist, inventor and entrepreneur who went on to paint the extraordinary images of cats that made him world famous. At 4, The Batman. Robert Pattinson dons the cowl in Matt Reeves' movie, this time chasing a sadistic killer who leaves cryptic clues across the city. At 3, Fall. A very tense film in which best friends Becky and Hunter climb a 2,000-foot high tower only to be stranded at the top with no escape. At 2, Jurassic World Dominion. With dinosaurs now living among man, it's once more up to Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard, this time joined by legacy cast members Sam Neill, Jeff Goldblum and Laura Dern to tackle the chaos in the supposed franchise closer. And at number 1, lip-curling, hip-shaking Elvis Presley as Austin Butler takes on the role of the King of Rock and Roll alongside Tom Hanks in Baz Luhrmann's spectacular drama. Well, Top Gun Maverick didn't quite make my top 10, flying in at number 11. The reason it didn't make my top 10 is because I felt that it stole its entire third act from a little movie that came out in 1977 called Star Wars. Think about it. There was a trench run, there was a little box to hit at the end, very similar to Luke Skywalker flying in the Death Star trench and trying to hit the portal on the Death Star. So yeah, sorry Tom, you must try harder. However, that's the end of my films and my review of the films for 2022. Of course, we'll have a look at the films of 2023 in a week's time, or a couple of weeks' time, depending on when I make the next video. And I'm sure there's some gems to look forward to there. However, just want to say, I wish you all a very good cinema-going 2023. I wish you a very good year in 2023. Thank you for joining me on this video. If you could do the usual for me, hit the like, hit the subscribe and hit the notification bell and come and have a chat with me in the comments about what your favourite films were of 2022. I'd love to hear from you. But until then, goodbye.